I will talk about metabolic drug-drug interactions and their management with a website called DDI Predictor. So, as you may know, drug-drug interactions may result in severe adverse events or a lack of efficacy in case of induction, or treatment delay or interruption. And this may be a concern in the case of a cancer treatment. Anti-cancer drugs have a narrow safety margin, and quite paradoxically, DDIs with or on anti-cancer drugs are poorly documented. So for the management of these interactions, we need a predictive approach to predict the magnitude of the drug-drug interactions. First, I show you a motivating example. Assume that a woman is treated for breast cancer by tamoxifen, and at some point, the physician wants to introduce terbinafine, which is an antifungal drug. If you have some skills in pharmacokinetics, you may suspect a drug interaction. If you look in the summary of product characteristics of tamoxifen, you will see that tamoxifen is a substrate of CYP2D6, and there are interactions with inhibitors of this cytochrome, which can lead to a reduced efficacy of tamoxifen because the active metabolites are decreased. There is a short list of inhibitors that are cited in the monograph, but terbinafine is not mentioned here. If you have a look at the terbinafine summary of product characteristics, you will see that terbinafine is a CYP2D6 inhibitor, and it may give clinically relevant interactions with some drugs, such as tricyclic antidepressants, but tamoxifen is not mentioned in this list. So, at this stage, may terbinafine be prescribed? Probably not, but I'm not sure. In fact, it depends on the magnitude of the interaction, and this is why I need a tool to predict the magnitude of this interaction, and I will return to this point later. Now, the overview of my talk, I will show you some definitions and the history, how to use the website DDI Predictor. This is very brief. The principles and the validation, the limits of this approach, and finally, a few case studies. Regarding the definitions, this slide represents the concentration, the average concentration profile of the victim drug of the interaction. When there is no interacting drug, the profile is like this, upon repeated administration. In case of co-administration with an inhibitor, we are on this profile, and we reach here a steady state. And in case of induction, we are on this profile, and we reach this steady state. Basically, we are interested by determining the average concentration at steady state here compared to this one. The magnitude of a drug-drug interaction may be measured by the AUC ratio at steady state. This AUC ratio formally is the AUC of the substrate when it is co-administered with the interactor divided by the AUC of the substrate given alone. So the higher this ratio, the higher the interaction in case of inhibition. For the interpretation of this AUC ratio, the value is equal to 1 when there is a lack of interaction. In case of inhibition, the concentration of the substrate is increased, so the ratio is greater than 1. And in case of induction, the concentrations are decreased, so the ratio is less than 1. It is very convenient to use this AUC ratio to calculate the dose, the adapted dose. The adjusted dose is equal to the usual dose divided by the AUC ratio. So to predict the value of the AUC ratio, we rely on a model which is called in vivo mechanistic statistic model. It is a steady state of a PBPK model. And this approach was introduced in 2007 by Ono for CYP3A4 interactions for drugs administered per os. Since 2010, we published about 15 papers about this approach, and we extended the model to in several directions. We extended the model to other CYPs. We have currently 5 CYPs taken into account. We extended the model also to CYP polymorphisms, to the impact of cirrhosis, and finally to the impact of age, especially for children and neonates. Since 2013, the model and the associated library was launched in a free academic website, which is called ddipredictor.org. It should be realized that this is not a simple database, because with this website you can make predictions even for undocumented interactions, and currently we are able to predict the AUC ratio for about 25,000 interactions. And we have about 2,000 connections per month worldwide. How to use the website? It's very simple. The front page looks like this. So you have several features here that may be accessed. These are the features in more detail. I will concentrate on the first one, that is the prediction of the impact of drug-drug interactions. The page for drug-drug interactions looks like this. You just have to choose a substrate in the list. Then you choose either an inducer or an inhibitor. Then you click on the compute button and you get some results. Here I choose omeprazole as a substrate. I can see that omeprazole is mainly metabolized by CYP2C19, while fluvoxamine, the interactor, is a strong inhibitor of 2C19. As a result, there is a strong interaction, and the exposure of omeprazole is increased about 7-fold for this interaction. What is the principle of this approach? In fact, we need 2 parameters to predict the ratio of AUC. Assume that you have a victim drug A, which is metabolized by CYP2D6 and which is eliminated in part by renal clearance. Now, if this drug is combined with drug B, which is an inhibitor, a moderate inhibitor of CYP2D6, assume, for example, that B inhibits 50% of CYP2D6, then the remaining clearance is here at the bottom, and the AUC ratio, which is the ratio of clearances, is about 2. If drug A is combined with the inhibitor C, which is a much more potent inhibitor, then the AUC ratio is about 10. So you may realize that there are 2 important parameters. The first one is the contribution of the cytochrome here to D6 in the total clearance of drug A, and this is what we call the contribution ratio. And the second parameter is the fraction of the cytochrome that is inhibited by the inhibitor. With these 2 parameters, we are able to predict the AUC ratio. The traditional approach to predict drug-drug interactions from in vitro data rely on the so-called fraction metabolized of the drug by a given cytochrome. This is in fact replaced in our approach by the contribution ratio. This contribution ratio is estimated solely on clinical pharmacokinetic data. In vitro data are not used in our approach. So this contribution ratio may be estimated from the IUC ratio of another clinical study or from a pharmacogenetic study. Regarding the inhibitor, the in vitro approach relies on the ratio of the inhibitor concentration in the hepatocyte to the inhibition constant Ki. In our approach, this is replaced by the inhibitor potency, which is determined only from in vivo data. It may be shown that these two parameters are related. In fact, the inhibition potency is a kind of reparametrization of I on Ki. And the value of the inhibition potency ranges from 0 to 1 in absolute value. Now, how we combine these two parameters? Here you have the most simple equation that holds in the case of a single cytochrome interaction. The IUC ratio is given by this simple formulae involving the two parameters here. We have a similar approach in case of induction. In this case, we deal with the inductive capacity, IC, which is ranging from 0 to 10. And this simple formulae may be extended to accommodate multiple DDIs, that is, DDIs involving several cytochromes between two drugs. To estimate the value of all the required parameters, we have a three-step approach, learning, confirming, and predicting. So we carry a literature search, and we have this kind of table with the substrates here and the inhibitors here. Each blue cell represents a published DDI study with an IUC ratio. We divide the data into subsets. One subset is the learning data, which help us to estimate the parameters. Then we use the rest of the data to make an external validation of our model. And if the model is correct, then we can calculate by simulation all the cells of the table, including the unknown interactions. So compared to the traditional in vitro approach, what does it change to use in vivo estimation of the parameters? In fact, it avoids the issues that we encounter with in vitro, in vivo extrapolation. We don't need to deal with, for example, the metabolites of the inhibitor. We have no problem to or with the substrate drugs that are eliminated by other concurrent pathways, such as renal elimination. We don't have to deal with uncertainties on some of the parameters. And finally, compared to the PBPK approach, which is mainly used in the pharmaceutical industry, this approach relies on scaling factors which are prone to uncertainty, and they are not required in our approach. The drawback of our model is that it cannot be used at the preclinical stage because, by definition, we don't have clinical data to estimate the parameters. The current state of the DDI predictor database we have about 200 substrates, 100 inhibitors, and 25 inducers. This is an example of external validation on about 600 examples. So here you have the predicted RUC ratio with our model, and here you have the observed RUC ratio. If the model was perfectly correct, all the points should lie on the identity line, which is here. And as you can see, it works quite well. The limits, the current limits of our approach, we deal only with 5 cytochromes, which are the main cytochromes. We deal only with interactions when the drugs are given per os, but these 2 limits are in fact temporary and they will be relieved in the future. The pharmacokinetics of the victim drug must be linear, which is not always true. In this case, the prediction is inaccurate. The dose of the interactor is important for the magnitude of the interaction, and generally we predict the RUC ratio for a single dose level. The membrane transporters are not explicitly considered in the model, so the predictions are inaccurate when, in fact, these transporters occur. And finally, we handle only the case of 2 drug interactions. When there are multiple drugs, you make several run of the model. Now, case study. First of all, I show here the ranking of TKIs by the magnitude of the interactions that they are susceptible to give with CYP3A4 inhibitors or inducers. The most sensitive substrates are these one here, bosutinib, dasatinib, and so forth, because they are handled by CYP3A4 at more than 80%. So they can give very strong interactions. A second group here give moderate interactions, and the rest of the drugs give very low or no interaction with CYP3A4 interactors. Now I return to the interaction between tamoxifen and terbinafine. If I ask DDI predictor, I can see that tamoxifen is indeed a substrate of CYP2D6, while terbinafine is indeed a potent inhibitor of CYP2D6. And as a result, the expected RUC ratio is about 3. That is, the active metabolites of tamoxifen would be decreased threefold in case of combination with terbinafine. And so this co-administration is probably to be avoided. Another example here, assume that a patient is treated by desipramine and you want to introduce abiraterone. Desipramine is again a substrate of CYP2D6, while abiraterone is an inhibitor, quite potent, and as a result, we expect a 2-fold increase in the concentration of desipramine. And this may be handled by decreasing the dose of desipramine 2-fold. Now, a case report. A man of 71 years old is treated for chronic leukemia, lymphoblastic leukemia. He has a fungal infection and he's treated by voriconazole for aspergillosis, and his liver function is normal. He has several co-medications, but no DDIs are expected. And at some time, the physician wished to introduce ibrutinib. The usual dose of this drug is 3 capsules at 140 milligrams per day. How would you manage this treatment? Would you keep the usual dose of ibrutinib, or will you reduce the dose of ibrutinib to 140 milligrams once per week? Would you use ibrutinib as the standard dose but switch voriconazole to itraconazole or to caspofungin or something else? If you ask DDI predictor for the interaction between ibrutinib and voriconazole, you will see that indeed ibrutinib is mainly eliminated by CYP3A4, while voriconazole is a potent inhibitor of this cytochrome, and as a result, the expected IUC ratio is about 25, which is a very strong interaction. So it is not possible to prescribe these two drugs just like this. If you try to reduce the dose of ibrutinib, for example, by giving 1 capsule per week, you will indeed reduce the dose by a factor of 21, and this is not so bad, but the problem is that the peak concentration will still be very, very high because the unit dose is still high. So it is not feasible, and the only way to manage this treatment is to switch the antifungal treatment. You may use a caspofungin or a combination of caspofungin with 5-flucytosine. So to conclude, you see that DDI predictor may help you to manage some metabolic drug-drug interactions on or with anti-cancer drugs. This requires, however, some skills in pharmacokinetics. And regarding the anti-cancer drugs, which are frequently administered by intravenous route, this kind of interaction will be handled in the future. Thank you for your attention.